Welcome back, Rainmakers, to the Crypto Rain Channel. I'm your host, Jay Murph, and today we're going to be talking about Polkadot versus Cardano. This is a topic we addressed about 2 weeks ago, and really the race is still on, although there is clearly someone who's pulled ahead, and let's talk about these two giants as they battle it out with a third contender trying to beat them, and that's the Binance Smart Chain, which has become highly relevant over the past 2 months as they have a very good alternative to the high Ethereum gas fees. So without further ado, let's get this started. Or John McAfee says he is eating his own. Now, for those of you new to crypto, you might not get that John McAfee reference. Now, 2017, amidst the major bull market, we had some celebrity endorsers back then. They just weren't powerful like Elon Musk. And that was John McAfee, who was super rich and a big endorser, who I think is now in jail and one of the bad boys of crypto, but an extremely brilliant man. And he was talking about how Bitcoin would go to $1 million or he was going to eat a certain body part. And it didn't go to $1 million yet. I'm pretty much sure he hasn't eaten that body part. So that's what that reference is from. For those who were around those days, you will remember that. And you're like, man, it's so much better to have endorsers like Elon Musk and Tesla buying stuff and Apple looking at Bitcoin and all these things happening. But I don't think we're ready for mass adoption. I think that'll come more next cycle. But I think this cycle is going to be tremendous. So in 2017, we saw some parabolic gains followed by huge retracements. And in 2021, we are seeing some parabolic gains. And will they be followed by huge retracements? I absolutely believe so. But I learned my lessons through 2018 where I held all those parabolic gains and they turned into parabolic losses. I will hopefully not be making that mistake this time. Although we're in the middle of the gains market, so what choices we make determine how much inheritance our great-grandkids will get, right? Kind of. All right, so hopefully we all have a chance to build some intergenerational wealth or family wealth and really live the life that we dream, because we're a little bit nerdy if we're involved in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency right now, and that inner nerd might bring us some huge gains because it's not easy and it's difficult to have to get money through like Coinbase or some other thing where we can buy Bitcoin with fiat and then send the Bitcoin to say Qcoin because it's got the coin that we want and buy it there, and where do we then hold it and all that stuff. Well, it's still difficult today, and that's why there's so much gains to be had, because most of the world isn't ready for this kind of stuff, and you got to have at least a little bit of inner nerd. Fortunately for me and unfortunately for me, I have more than a little bit of that inner nerd, and so I've been involved in cryptocurrency since 2017, loving it, and boy, did great and then got wrecked and then doing great again, and I think I learned some lessons, so this time I won't get wrecked. So let's get back to what we're here to talk about, which is Cardano versus Polkadot. And when we last looked at it, Cardano and Polkadot were neck and neck. And so now Polkadot is behind Cardano, which is leading. In fact, Polkadot is behind Binance Smart Chain, which is, or BNB, but really it's the Binance Smart Chain that is driving all that BNB growth. And so it's actually just a little bit behind Cardano too. They did just do a big update which brings NFT functionality to Cardano, with actually smart contracts being programmable in Cardano itself, so you don't necessarily need smart contracts for the NFTs. That was very interesting and very good foresight when they created that. So you can send NFTs through Cardano at the same price you can send regular Cardano without having to pay a higher transaction fee. I think that's awesome. Now, I made the claim in one of my videos that I think Cardano was going to own the NFT market. I should have clarified a little bit better. I think they'll own this self-generated NFT market where artists themselves are creating things. Some of these big companies like Ecomi and other companies that are getting in, they'll probably run things on their own blockchain, and that's fine, especially as interoperability gets high. But as far as self-generated NFTs and everything, I really think Cardano will own that space, with so much functionality built into Cardano itself, and the price to do it and to send it being so cheap. I see Cardano owning that. So Why is Cardano ahead of Polkadot? Now, it seemed like Polkadot was going to be earlier to market as far as having everything ready, but I'm not certain that is the case. So they're doing their parachain auctions coming up, and they will have some bids, these companies and projects that are bidding for those parachains, and in essence they're bidding how much DOT token they're going to lock up for essentially their lease period. And the way it works with Polkadot is there's so many spokes that go around this big circle, and I think there's 100 spots, and so they're bidding as to how much DOT they will stake in order to hold their spot. Now at the end of their lease period they get that back, and they can re-auction and win that spot. But it's a good way to be able to hold the people accountable that have that primary spot right in the direct wheel there. So it's just seeming like it's still going to be quite a ways down the road before DOT functionality is fully there. Now we are seeing a lot of projects being built on top of it in anticipation of that. And I feel like they're starting to get a good feel for what they need to do in order to layer on top of Polkadot. So that's why we have so many projects coming out that are building around that. And for a while it's just like Polka Start or Polka this, Polka that, in anticipation of that. And Cardano doesn't seem to have that kind of momentum, at least above the surface. See, Polkadot's, a lot of the stuff is above the surface and highly visible. I have a feeling that there's a lot happening below the surface with projects that are on Ethereum now that are seriously looking at bringing their stuff onto Cardano. And much of that will come out in the coming months. If that is the case, I don't know that. I just strongly suspect it, and I've heard some hints about it. But other than that, it's just rumor. All right. So really, when I talked about this, I was talking about a race at who will be highest at the end of this year. Now, how is the alt season this year going to go? We don't exactly know. We really only have last cycle's alt season to look at. And the way that it played out is Bitcoin peaked, I think, right around December 14th, right around just over 19,000, and then hit a huge retracement over the following 4 days, retracing to below the 50% Fibonacci retracement line. And so then it did bounce back up before then going down even further. But when it fell like that, a lot of the money rolled immediately into alts that had some parabolic runs through early January, mostly through January 5th through 8th. And then you saw some massive retracements. I mean, we can pretty much look at any coin. In fact, let's look at Cardano. I specifically went to Bittrex, which has Cardano Tether, because you can see what that looked like. It actually peaked the 2nd of January, hitting just about $1.40 before, no, what date is that? The 4th of January. Yep, before then retracing huge, and by April it was all the way down to 13 cents. So when we talk about the crypto winter, this is the crypto winter and heading into this. And this is often what follows massive parabolic runs. And though I'm very optimistic on DOT, Cardano, and a whole lot of projects, and I think they will hit some ridiculous prices, kind of like Cardano, the value was not there for it to be $1.38 4 years ago, and yet it still happened. But then it was followed by a big retracement, and it overcorrected, hitting a low of 1.7 cents. And it was never worth that little, yet it still hit it. And if you were lucky, you picked it up right on that day, right about here. It did dip all the way to 1.7 cents. And now has gone up tremendously since then. Now, I don't know anyone who got it right at 1.7 cents. I got some more around there, but I missed that day, and I missed the next couple days after. I think I paid about 2 cents for my lowest Cardano buys. So will that happen again? I expect so, and I expect both DOT and Cardano will go up tremendously from here. I did want to show you the Cardano chart, and look at this parabolic run. Now, this kind of parabolic run is probably going to be interspersed with some cooling, or we often call it trading sideways. But what happens is it retraces and does something like this. Now, do I know it'll retrace from here? It really depends on what kind of news. And it's been running so hard because, well, so much good news has come out, just event after event, news cycle after news cycle, positive news for Cardano, because really they put in a strong foundation. And Charles is really good at keeping his lips sealed about things, or just hinting at it but not telling you. And so we've just had event after event, and it has continued to pump. Now, who knows? Some news could come out and it could go up tremendously from here, or it could trade sideways. And like I often refer, things is like pulling back a rubber band, then letting it go, and then it flies. And if we're new to crypto, new to investing in general, because this principle applies to stocks, when we chase what's already flown or flying tremendously, we often get in right about here or here, just in time for some sideways trading. And then if we're normal and human but new to this, what happens is it goes down like this, and we get kind of depressed, and we're mad that we bought it, and something else is flying and doing tremendous, and we sell right here. Oh my gosh. And then guess what happens? It trades here, and then it goes boom, parabolic, and we're like, oh my gosh. Now, how do I know this? Look, I've got 20 years experience investing in real estate. Many of these principles apply, as well as some stock experience. But the reason I know this is because I've done it. I even did it in 2017. I hate to admit it because I should have known better, but I did this. I just figured maybe cryptos were different, but the same stuff applies. And so one that I was sitting on, I paid about 60 cents, and it was worth about 80 cents. And I chased something that had like a 10x gain, and I sold that one right before it then went up by 10x from there. So it went from 80 cents to $8 and then to $10 pretty quickly right after I sold it, which was really depressing. And it's a mistake I see a lot of new people make. If you haven't caught it already, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just telling you how to think about things. What I tend to find is projects that I believe in for the long term, and I tend to try to pick them up when I see price getting really attractive, and I mostly stay away from parabolic runs unless I feel pretty certain I'm still catching it pretty early in the parabolic run. But even in a bull market, you see focus tend to shift from different sectors. So right now everyone's talking about NFTs. Cardano has stayed relevant to that, especially with their Mary update, which introduces NFT functionality. But I wouldn't be too surprised if a lot of the major focus turned away from Cardano and Polkadot and went to other things like NFTs, and then maybe back to DeFi, before then circling back around to these two. Who knows? We tend to see those rotational cycles, and so then we get a bunch of sideways trading, and actually a lot of people jump ship from here into whatever is being talked about and exciting, and then they end up missing the further gains here. Now Polkadot's chart is a little bit more stable and steady, not as parabolic. It's not that it can't go parabolic, but we see this nice rounded bottom here. In fact, if we were to bring this up more, you can actually see cup and handle here. They call it a cup and handle, but it went down like this, and then this is the little handle, before then going up a lot from there. And so Polkadot is, you know, I think still has tons of value. I'm a huge fan of what Dr. Gavin Woods has created, and I think it'll do well as its kid brother, Kusama. I know they call it a cousin. I think of it more as a kid brother. So which one will be the highest by the end of the year? My money is still on Cardano, but I'm human. I'm an investor without a crypto ball, so I'm just making my best guess. I'm interested in hearing, what is your best guess? Is it going to be Cardano or Polkadot by the end of the year that has the highest market cap of these two? Or do you think Binance Chain is going to continue to stay relevant and somehow continue to compete with these big giants? I was caught off guard, but I do have to hand it to CZ. He always continues to stay very relevant at a time when everyone was saying the centralized exchanges would go away, and exchange coins like Binance Coin are going to become irrelevant, and yet he has continued to adapt it and keep it relevant, and he continues to be on the forefront of the technology. And if he continues to operate like that, he will find new use cases for the BNB token and probably continue to crush it. So I want to hear from you, which of these three, or even these two, that you think is going to be ahead at the end of the year. Now, will the bull run this cycle for altcoins go through the end of the year? I don't know. Part of the reason we have this accelerated time frame where we have 4-year cycles, at least historically we have, is it has to do with the Bitcoin halving. And both Bitcoin tends to really run about a year after its halving. And so I've done some more videos where I've talked more specifics about this and shown specifics, but I'm just going to address it for those of you who didn't catch those videos. And so what then happens after Bitcoin makes some massive gains is that altcoins then have some massive gains and follow after it. So what happens is Bitcoin usually runs, and then people sell their altcoins or their Bitcoin and roll it into altcoins, and Bitcoin might retrace some and the altcoins run, and then it goes through that cycle during the bull market, and that tends to last through or end sometime between September through December is when Bitcoin has a big retracement, which is usually what marks the end of Bitcoin's bull run. However, the altcoins kind of then have a big pump before then fizzling. We can see that both. Let me show you exactly what that looks like. We looked at it here with Cardano a little bit. Unfortunately, I don't have a chart that shows this better, and it being down here. I guess if we go to this, it will show you better. And I want to show you that. See that? It was way down here the 11th of November. Now, Bitcoin was absolutely taking off at this time. It reached its peak, Bitcoin did, about the 14th of December. So you could have then bought Cardano if you had sold your Bitcoin and rolled it into Cardano. You could have got Cardano right around 30 cents. It then pumped all the way up to the peak of $1.40. While Bitcoin was falling, Cardano was taking off. And then Cardano had some parabolic drops. It went womp. And then it did retrace some back up, and then it went womp, and then it had this big rounded bottom, which we have seen for forever, until now we're having some parabolic rises again. So Polkadot wasn't around back then, so we can't look at that, but let me go to another one that was really in the news back then, and that was Tron. Now, Tron has kind of faded into obscurity. I don't know if it's still going to make it, but let's look at them. They too, through the 4th of January, went all the way to 23 cents before having a massive whomp all the way down to here, and then it did retrace too, and then a whomp. And so this is what people refer to as the crypto winter. And this is the crypto summer or the massive bull run. Notice right at the end, because it had had some gains before, but right at the end it had some massive parabolic moves. Now, I think we've seen some parabolic moves, such as this. I don't think we've seen the massive parabolic moves yet. Just my best guess. I'm just a person. I'm not even always right. I'm just often right. All right. Also, in staying tuned to the channel, you notice I do some videos that don't get a lot of views, and I'm totally okay with that. I cover other things, like I covered Celsius token the other day. And it's because there's not a hype cycle going on about them now. Now, probably when it then has some parabolic runs, it'll be in the hype cycle and everyone will be covering it. And, oh, Celsius token is the biggest thing in the world. The reason I'm talking about it now is because I'm looking at it now. I like to buy things before the massive run. So I do have to do some more research on what is the other major token like Celsius. I forget their major competitor, but you can buy tokens on their site and you can earn a good return on them too. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting it, and I shoot these things one time go, so I will have to get back to you later, but my guess is that will have a run. I think that one had a run, took it all the way into the top 10. It has since traded sideways and retraced. They tend to run with Bitcoin during massive runs, and there's some tokenomic reasons behind it, especially with Celsius. So I talk about these, and it's okay it doesn't get a lot of views. For those of you who follow my videos regularly, pay attention to those ones. It's okay that they're not in the hype cycle, because that's when it's most important to evaluate whether it's right for your portfolio. Because right now everything's about NFTs, and I wanted to give some perspective and cover that earlier today. However, I'm a contrarian by nature. I like to cover things when I think that they're a deal. I mean, my background, I write deals for a real estate investor that help them buy them super cheap so that they can fix them up and flip them and make a profit. So, I mean, the way I'm wired is I'm a deal hawk. I'm a professional buyer for a living. That's what I do. And that's what my background with real estate investing in is buying right. So I don't like to chase the hype. I like to look for the deals when they are a deal, and I tend to stay away from them when they're not. And you will get a lot of that from me. Now, am I always right that all these things will pump? Well, I hope so, but I'm still human too. And, you know, joking with somebody the other day, I said, yeah, my crystal ball is from Walmart, and it has a $5.99 sticker on it, and it doesn't even work. Right? Because I don't have a magic crystal ball like any of you don't either. It's just my best guess, and so none of this should be construed as financial advice. However, I do appreciate each of you for joining me. We have grown this channel tremendously. Over 6,100 subscribers in really a period of like 6.5, 7 weeks. I thank each of you. You've been so supportive, and some of my followers, Steven and many others, you know exactly who you are. I appreciate all your good comments. I appreciate your amazing support, and I continue to grow this channel. I am new at YouTube. Just 7 weeks. I don't know what I'm doing with YouTube. Do I know what I'm doing crypto investor as a crypto investor? Man, maybe I'll take some English diction classes too. Well, I like to think I do. My portfolio would suggest I do, but I try to be open about my flaws, and I try to be open about my mistakes as well as my wins, because my end goal is to help save many people from the mistakes I made of not selling when the selling was good and holding into some massive retracements. Now, it's okay if you're holding it for like the full 4-year cycle. If you're buying something now and you just know going into it you're going to hold it through the crypto winter till the following cycle, I would suggest that if you do that, it's more on the solid projects, because some of the ones that are out now and hyped right now might not even be around in 4 years. Now, some of them like Polkadot and Cardano and some of these others, I would be completely shocked if they're not around in 4 years, but you never do know. But at least if you're going in with that in mind, and you do have some good staking rewards too, that's fantastic. But my goal is to ride this wave while the riding is very, very good. And I'd like to keep this channel. I'd like to keep you informed, and I'd like to also address buying some really good things in crypto winter. But if you don't have any money to buy in crypto winter because you didn't at least capture some of your gains, well, then that's bad for everyone, right? Secondly to that, you know, I'm always looking at what's good to buy when this cycle comes to an end and, you know, all those profits are harvested, and I don't know what that will be yet. See, stocks have been running on a massive upturn for so long, and what goes up always comes down. It always does. When people tell you, oh, it's different this time and it's not going to happen, they always say that when it's near the end. Second to that is real estate. And real estate in many parts around the world has been on a massive run. And when people say it's just going to keep going up, you always hear that right before it doesn't. And so what will I be investing in like January, February, March, April, May? I'm not sure yet. I'm looking, but cycle is very important. Now, I've got a huge real estate background. I don't need to diversify into real estate unless there's good deals out there. And I don't know that there's going to be good deals out there to diversify into come January, February, but we will see. What I'd like to continue to do is bring you relevant information as to what might be attractive. Also share with you some profit-taking strategies that maybe help you, because you never know where the top is going to be. And so I'm going to be trying to use those different strategies myself, because I don't know where the top is and I don't want to hold too long. You saw how fast these retraces are. I mean, look at this. In a matter of just a few days, it hit the top 4th of January. And by the 11th of January, it retraced from here to the bottom 51 cents. So it went from almost $1.40 to 51 cents. Now, if you're holding it long term, and especially now that staking is up and available, well, shoot, you know, you would have gained some massive staking gains during that time. But we're talking January 2018 to January 2021, 3 years before some massive gains started again. Now, maybe it just might be passive income like Celsius and some of the other networks like, I am not remembering any of their names. There's other reputable services that are great. In fact, I actually have some money staked. I can look up. I know I have it. Blockfi, they're awesome. They pay you passive returns on Bitcoin and other things. And maybe that's what's going to be best and available to us. But I will keep you updated as to what I am seeing then. Because don't we all want to make the best gains possible? This year, and not, I mean, hold through the crypto winter unless that's our strategy. But as to what's good to buy, we will have to see what's coming then. Maybe the US dollar and all the world currencies will continue to deflate, and maybe then still real estate is a deal. We will see as it happens. But until next time, I will see you later.